Do you guys know who this guy is? Like, do you want to guess who this guy is? Well, if you're wondering who this guy is, he's my ex-fiancé. Yeah. I know that I'm only 18, but it's strange to say that I have an ex-fiancé, because I was once in an arranged marriage. But luckily I got out of it. So, today I'll be talking about the modern form of the miyai, also known as the omiyai, which is a Japanese equivalent of an arranged marriage. I've been researching this topic for several weeks, and I also have past experience with the xianqing, which is the Chinese equivalent of the omiyai. Though, of course, there are noticeably differences between the two. Like, marriage isn't for everyone, but I'm sure that most of you are planning to get married in the future and, find that special someone. My goal for you today is to enlighten you on the basic steps that occur around and in the omiyai. Today, I'll be explaining to you what happens before the omiyai, during the omiyai, and after the omiyai. Before the omiyai, normally one of the parents of an individual who is single will approach their child when they believe that they are of a marriageable age, known as takiriki, which ranges in your 20s, early to late 20s. But when they show no sign of looking for a partner, that's when the parent will approach them. And then, they'll start the conversation with onegai shimasu, and it's very subtle, and it's used in a lot of different ways. So sometimes the child will agree to this without even knowing, because they'll respond to this like, yes, and then they don't know that they just said, yes, I'm ready for this arranged marriage. So it's kind of sad sometimes, because the parents will even go as far to take candid pictures of their child and send it to candidates, which is pretty funny in some ways, but it's sad too. And then the daughter finds out eventually, of course, when the nakodo is brought into it. And there's several participants in the omiyai, which of course involves the bride and the groom, the parents, and then the nakodo. And then, what is a nakodo? It is one who is often a family of the friend and the bachelor and the bachelorette with a large network, and it's their job to present the suitable marriage partners and to introduce them to each other, and to research the families and to see if this person is compatible with this person. And they usually serve as the go-between. So they're like, oh, this person doesn't want you, so sorry, but you're kind of gone. Or this person wants you, so let's set something up. And then also, before the omiyai, there's a rirekisho that's prepared. A rirekisho is a personal information form, which is basically a portfolio. In this form, it contains a lot of things, which is, it can contain the name, the date of birth, the residence, the academic background, the occupation, and health, hobbies, physical attributes, lots of different things. And then it'll contain pictures too, and typically the girls, they'll be wearing a kimono. In tradition, they wore kimonos, but now that you think about the modern times, they'll wear more modern clothes, such as the girl that's pictured in here. And then for guys, they'll typically wear suits in their pictures. Well, traditionally, they would wear suits in all of them, but as the girls, they become more modern, and then they'll wear more modern and casual clothes. But most often, they still wear suits. So, once the portfolios are done, they are given to the nakodo. And the nakodo will bring a list of potential candidates to both of the candidates that they're helping. And then the brief information on the subjects will come into question. And they will choose the candidates based primarily on education, occupation, and social status. Once a list is made by the family, the Nakodo will be given the list that the family has made with the bride or the groom, and then they will choose, like, they will say, oh, we like these people, so can you look more into them, get more information on them that we can look over. And that's when the Rireki shows come into play. This is when the Nakodo will approach the family and ask them if they can have a portfolio to give to the interested participant. And and if both parties are interested, this is when the omiai will begin. Now, during the omiai, I want to explain to you in a more detailed description what an omiai really is. It's a casual meeting between the two candidates in question with the parents and the Nakodo. First off, where does this take place, you know? Usually it takes place in a private room in a hotel or even a restaurant, or the female candidate's home, the male candidate's home, but most typically it is happening in the Nakodo's home. Once the parties arrive, the Nakodo will typically introduce the female to the male first, and then he will proceed to introduce the male to the female, and then he'll introduce the parents to one another so that they can get to know each other. And then, during the omiai, the Nakodo is the one that arranges the seats. So once they're all seated, the conversation begins. Typically, the potential bride and groom, they aren't really talking. They're just really silent, and it's typically the parents that are talking to one another. But occasionally, the conversation will move to one of the candidates, and then the parents will converse with them. But typically, they are just really quiet, the two that are supposedly going to get married. And once the Nakodo is, and then at the end of the omiai, the candidates will speak to the Nakodo privately, and then they'll tell him or her whether or not they want to continue this interaction with the other person, which is kind of strange if you think about it, because they never really interacted. They were just sitting there the whole time. But they'll tell the Nakodo, oh, I like this person, so I'm willing to go further with the omiai, or I'm not interested, so can we head home now? But if they both agree that they like the other person and would like to get to know each other better, then the parents and the Nakodo will leave the two candidates alone and suggest that they go off on their own to get to know each other better. And then after the omiai, the initial first introduction, which was when they first met, the decision is expressed through a third meeting, whether or not they want to get married. There's two responses to this. There's an apology in which they tell the Nakodo, I'm not interested in this person, so call it quits. And then there's no damage done to their reputation. But the acceptance, if they both say, oh, yes, I really like this person and I'm interested, then a marriage occurs. But coming to my conclusion, we can recall that I've spoken what happens before, during, and after the omiai. As you can see, the omiai tradition is rather interesting, and some of you may or may not agree with it. Perhaps some of you will turn to tradition or something similar at your point in a point in your life that's something similar to this. It's I know I sure as hell would have preferred this tradition over what my mom and I had to go through.
So Vanessa, what did you think?